Welcome back, boys and girls. This is grade 4, chapter 3, lesson 3.7. And today we're going to be doing some problem solving. We'll be multiplying two-digit numbers. And the strategy that we're going to use today is draw a diagram. Our essential question is, how can you use the strategy draw a diagram to solve multi-step multiplication problems? So multi-step problems, drawing a diagram. Our goal today is at the end you can say, I can use the strategy draw a diagram to solve multi-step multiplication problems. So let's get right into it. You might be asking yourself the question, why use this strategy, draw a diagram, when we've already worked on so many different strategies to solve multiplication problems with two digits times two digits? It's a really good question. So I'd like to go ahead and answer it for you and see if I can come up with some really good reasons why this is important. Let's try the first one. The first reason why I want to use this strategy is because by drawing a diagram, I can organize the positional relationship of information within a problem. This is going to help me get a sense of what is happening in the problem and an understanding of what I'm being asked to do. Then, by using the strategy draw a diagram, I can represent the information spatially, which allows me to visualize the problem in my mind. Finally, by using the strategy draw a diagram, I can clarify my ideas about the problem and make sure that I have all the pieces that fit together. All right, let's go ahead and we're going to start using a graphic organizer to help us solve a problem. So let's get right into the problem. First thing I'm going to do is read the problem. So let's get started. During the 2010 Great Backyard Bird Count, an average of 42 bald eagles were counted in each of 20 locations throughout Alaska. In 2009, an average of 32 bald eagles were counted in each of 26 locations throughout Alaska. Based on this data, how many more bald eagles were counted in 2010 than in 2009? Well, we are going to use a graphic organizer to help us solve the problem, but the first question I have for you is, what are you being asked to do? So let's go take a look. If I go back in and reread the problem, I'm going to underline the question, how many more bald eagles were counted in 2010 than in 2009? And I'm going to go back and underline those math words. How many more than? These words should give you a clue to at least one step in this problem. Let's go back and answer our question. What do I need to find? Well, the question says how many more bald eagles in 2010 than in 2009. So I'm going to answer the question, I need to find how many more bald eagles were counted in 2010 than in 2009. That was pretty simple. Let's go back and think about how we're going to do this. The information, what information do I need to find? Well, first of all, I have to find out in 2010 how many locations counted an average of how many bald eagles. So let me go back and see. During 2010, an average of 42 bald eagles were counted in each of 20 locations. So I can say in 2010, 20 locations counted an average of 42 bald eagles. Good job. Second thing that I need to find out is how many eagles in 2009. So I'm going to write this statement in 2009. How many locations counted an average of how many bald eagles? So let's go back and look for that. You're right. In 2009, an average of 32 bald eagles were counted in 36 locations. I'm sorry, was that 36? That was 26 locations. Hello, Mrs. Kennedy. So in 2009, 26 locations counted an average of 32. I'm hoping you can see that. Maybe I'll change that color. I'll be right back. I think that color change will make it just a little more easy to read for us. All right, so I know the information I need to use is in 2010, 20 locations counted an average of 42 bald eagles. In 2009, 26 locations counted an average of 32 bald eagles. I went back in, I circled my information, I recorded it in my sentences. Let's move on. The next step in my graphic organizer is to decide how will I use this information. So I can solve simpler problems, and that's really going to be my multiple steps that I'm going to do here. I'm going to figure out what the simpler problems are and then put them all together. So the question I'm going to say is, I need to find the number of bald eagles counted in, you're right, 2010. I also need to find the number of bald eagles that were counted in 2009. Then I'm going to draw a bar model to compare the 2010 count to the 2009 count. You are so good at this. Let's move on to our next step. All right, now I'm going to solve the problem. The first thing I'm going to do is find the total number of bald eagles counted in 2010. So I said the total number of bald eagles counted in 2010, and I came up with the problem, 42 times 20. That's a pretty easy one for me to do. I know that I can put down the 0, and then I multiply. 2 times 2 is 4, and 2 times 4 is 8. So in 2010, there were 840 bald eagles that were counted. Good job. Next, now that's a smaller problem. Next, I'm going to find the total of number of bald eagles counted in 2009. I'm going to multiply 32 times 26. Now, there are a number of ways that you can do that. You can use your vertical format. You can use mental math. You can expand out and use the distributive property. You can expand the form of each of these numbers and multiply. There are 832 bald eagles that were counted in 2009. Now, lastly, what I'm going, and I'm not sure which process you did here, but that's your choice, and you know what I mean by choosing a method to solve this problem. Let's go on to the next step. The last step is I'm going to draw a bar model, and I need to subtract because I know when I looked at the original problem, I saw the words how many more than. So what I'm going to do is create a bar model. On the top bar, which is my longest bar, I'm going to put 840 bald eagles in 2010. Underneath that, I'm going to create a bar model that says 832 bald eagles in 2009. And I know that what I'm doing is I'm looking for the difference, which is right here. This is the number that I do not know. So I'm going to have to subtract 840 minus 832. Well, darn, that's pretty easy. I know that that number is 8. So, boys and girls, if we take a look at the final question, how many more eagles were counted in 2010 than in 2009, we can create the answer. So there were 8 more bald eagles counted in 2010 than in 2009. Take a look at your bar model. How does that help you organize your information? How does that help you visualize your information? Can you see the relationship between the information in the problem? This is why we use the bar model. All right, let's go ahead and try it again. All right, here's the next problem. In Prescott Valley, Arizona, reported a total number of 29 mourning doves in the Great Backyard Bird Count. Mesa, Arizona reported 20 times as many mourning doves as Prescott Valley. If Chandler reported a total of 760 mourning doves, how many more mourning doves were reported in Chandler than Mesa? Oh, there's a lot of really good math words in here. Let's go back first of all and make sure we understand the question. I'm going to go ahead and underline the question that I need to answer at the end. Right. How many more mourning doves were reported in Chandler than in Mesa? But I'm noticing that there's some really good math words in. I see times as many as. That's going to tell me something. So when I look at this problem, I'm going to say, I think this is going to be a multi-step problem. Let's go use our graphic organizer and complete this. By the way, I hope you enjoy the picture of the mourning dove. Let's take a look at our first question. What do I need to find? Well, go back and we'll see what we underlined. I'll give you a moment. Correct. Let's write it down. I need to find how many more mourning doves were reported in Chandler, Arizona than in Mesa, Arizona. All right, good job. Now, what information will I need to use? I'm going to have to do multi-steps here, so let's go back and really look at the problem. Looking back at the problem, I know that Prescott, Arizona reported a total of 29 mourning doves. Mesa, Arizona reported 20 times as many as Prescott, Arizona. And finally, Chandler, Arizona reported 760 mourning doves. So I'm going to take these bits of information and figure out what I'm going to do with it. So let's move on. The next question I need to answer is, how will I use this information? Okay, I think the first thing I'm going to say is I can solve simpler problems. So let me write that in. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to solve simpler problems. I'm going to find the number of doves reported in Mesa. Then I'm going to draw a bar model to compare Mesa with Chandler. Let's continue. So to solve the problem, the first thing I'm going to do is find the number of doves reported in Mesa. So I'm going to multiply 29 times 20. I know I have a 0 here. 2 times 9 is 18. Put down the 8, carry the 1. 2 times 2 is 4, and 1 is 5. So 580 mourning doves were reported in Mesa. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and draw a bar model to compare how many more mourning birds were reported in Chandler. Then I'm going to create a comparison bar model. And we've done many of these, so hopefully we're going to be really good at it. All right, so let's see. To show. Oh my goodness, let me stop. Then create a bar model to find how many more mourning doves were reported in Chandler than in Mesa. All right, let's get right to the model. All right, boys and girls, here's my bar model. 760 mourning doves in Chandler, 580 mourning doves in Mesa. I know that this is going to be a subtraction because I saw the words how many more than. So let's go ahead and just do the subtraction. So I know 760 minus 580, okay, equals, come on, you can do it. That's right, 180. Now, so I know that there were 180 more mourning doves reported in Chandler than in Mesa. Good job, boys and girls. Let me go ahead and give you some practice problems now. All right, boys and girls, here are your 3 practice problems for tonight. The first one, I'm going to give you the steps, first, next, and last. And then, of course, you're going to write your statement in there. And in the second problem, I'm going to ask you to describe how your answer, June, would be different. And your third one is a practice problem. You should be able to draw a bar model for your third practice problem tonight. Please be neat, please be clean, please make sure these show up distinctly in your math journals. Good night, good luck, see you tomorrow.